One of these islands was a country, another is a capital of its own country, and one of these countries consists of 115 islands. Anyways, here are the islands of Africa. Like, subscribe and share please to help us. Thanks and enjoy. Africa itself is the second largest continent after Asia. However, people have refrained from calling continents islands because of the sheer size and countries within them. There are 6 islands that are countries, with Madagascar being the biggest of them, and Seychelles being the smallest, though it comprises of 115 islands. Seychelles, though, is not the only country being a cluster of islands, as there is Mauritius consisting of 4 islands, Comoros being of 3 islands, Cabo Verde with 10 islands, Sao Tome and Principe with 3 islands, and Madagascar sharing a status with 2 other islands. Then there are countries that have islands either in them or surrounding them. In the southern part of Africa, you have Botswana with 4 islands of Sedudu, Kubu, Lekubu, and Madinari. Sedudu was territorially disputed between England and Germany in the past, and Lekubu is a 2-million-year-old rock island. Djibouti has 3 islands of Mascali, Muka, and Sefres, or 7 brothers, with Mucha being the tourist island. It was a smuggler's island in the early 1900s, then became a quarantine island before becoming a tourist island. Equatorial Guinea has a total of 5 islands named Annobon, Bioko, Corisco, Elobe Grande, and Elobe Chico. Annobon is the southernmost island with a population of over 5,000 people. It's a province and its own population rose by 300 in over 15 years. Bioko is an island of 2 provinces, with Malabo, the capital of the country, on the island. Elobe Grande and Elobe Chico, as one would suggest, are big sibling and little sibling islands. And Corisco Island in recent years has been claimed by Gabon, mainly due to its oil prospects. The country of Eritrea has the Dahlak Archipelago, which consists of over 124 small islands, and other islands like Fatuma, Halib, and Hawakil Islands, and Massawa. Guinea has the Ile de Los, 3 islands known for their beaches, and Tombo Island, an older settlement now linked to the mainland by a causeway. Guinea-Bissau has the Bisagos Islands, which consists of 88 small islands with a combined population of over 30,000 people. Sudan has the Mukawa Managed Nature Reserve and Suakin Archipelago National Park. Uganda has the 84 Islands Archipelago of Sese Islands, and Malawi has the Chizumulu and Likoma Islands inside Lake Malawi. Mozambique has about 8 islands. The Angoche Island was the location of illegal shipments of slaves. Inhaka Island is a subtropical tourist destination. The island of Mozambique is a World Heritage Site. The Corimbas Islands, an archipelago of 32 islands. Bamisi Island is the leading luxury private island in East Africa. The Bazaruto Archipelago consists of 6 islands with many crocodiles. The Primeras and Segundas Archipelago consist of 10 sparsely inhabited islands. The area has been threatened by illegal fishing operations and unauthorized tourism, and lastly, you have the Chiloan Island, an island filled with smaller villages. Namibia has 18 islands, which are interesting. Many are for breeding birds like Mercury Island, Halifax Island, and the Penguin Island, which all fall in the Penguin Islands. Just take a look at the names given to the scattered islands that make up the Penguin Islands. And then you have Bird Island, which is a man-made platform specifically for breeding birds and collecting their poop. And before you think it's weird, the poop is sold to Belgium annually. Then there is Shark Island, which has a dark history related to Hitler. All we will say is that it had a concentration camp that was used as a blueprint for the atrocities of the Second World War. Senegal has 3 islands of its own, with the Gori Island, an island with ties to the Atlantic slave trade, the Isle de la Madeleine, which has the smallest national park in the world, and Mofil Island, which has seen many conquerors. In the east of Africa, Somalia has 2 sets of archipelagos, the Sad Aden Islands, the Bajuni Islands, which are tourist destinations but are mainly uninhabited. Sierra Leone has its own islands like the Banana Islands, known for their beaches, forests and shipwrecks, the Bonse Island, another slave trade island, Sherbro Island, an island with 65 miles of tropical beaches, and the Turtle Islands, which are difficult to reach. Not far, Liberia has its 2 islands, one being Bushrod Island, a commercial island, and Providence Island, which is significant as it was the landing point for the American freedmen that returned to Africa. Zanzibar is known as an archipelago island off mainland Tanzania for its beautiful beaches and spices. But you may not know that there are 4 main islands and a bunch of smaller islands. The most famous of the islands is Zanzibar, or Unguja, with the other islands like Pemba Island, Latham Island, and Mafia Island, with a whole other bunch of surrounding islands. Tanzania also has a few islands inside it sitting in the Lake Victoria like the Nabuyongo and Ukerewe Islands. In neighboring Kenya lies the Lau Archipelago, which consists of Pate, Manda, and Lamu Islands, in addition to the smaller islands of Kiwayu and Manda Toto. On these islands, you will find Klunga Marine National Reserve and Takwa, a settlement discovered in the 1500s. These islands have a rich Swahili history and with evidence of early Chinese exploration to the islands. Up north in Tunisia, you have Jerba, which is the largest island in North Africa, with a population of over 163,000 people. The rocky groups of the lightly populated Gallis Islands and the empty Zembra Island. The Kirkana Islands are an archipelago of islands which are only 43 feet above sea level. However, the population on the islands has decreased over the years due to drought. Algeria also has its own islands, however they are mostly unpopulated and are mainly rocks. All the way in the south, South Africa has Dassen Island, also called Penguin Island. You have Seal Island, which is represented by its name, Prince Edward Island, which should not be confused with the namesake in Canada, and the famous Robben Island, which hosted Nelson Mandela within its prison walls. Ghana has 5 islands of its own, with one having a cruise line dedicated to it. Nigeria has about 17 islands too, with Lagos Island being the most powerful island economically in Africa, and Banana Island, an artificial island in which the wealthiest African man currently resides. Libya has Fawa Island, one the former leader wanted to turn into a resort. Angola has a plethora of islands, with Tigres Island being the largest, and Kwanda Island, which is an oil and gas island. Lastly, Egypt has over 14 islands of its own, with the notable Seal Islands being disputed with Sudan and Faroes Island going back to the 13th century BC. Lastly, there are islands that are geographically close to the African continent, however they are still politically on other continents. The Canary Islands are a total of 9 islands and they are the southernmost territories of Spain, with over 2 million people living on them. Unlike other European territories, these islands had native people called the Guanches, and they are similar to the Berbers. There are also the Chafarinas and the Alhucemas Islands, which are off the coast of Morocco, but are territories of Spain. In 2012, some refugees found their way on the Alhucemas Islands and were returned to Morocco by the Spanish military. They were then deported to Algeria shortly after. Then there are the Perigil and the Santa Catalina Islands, which are uninhabited islands also off the coast of Morocco. The Perigil Island in particular has been a source of dispute between Spain and Morocco over the years, with a mini scuffle even taking place between the two in 2002 when the Spanish Navy captured Moroccan soldiers who had set up camp on the island. The EU sided with Spain while the Arab League sided with Morocco. There is also the Alboran Island, which was occupied by Spain in 1540 after they defeated the Ottoman Navy. The island gets its name from the Tunisian corsair whose attacks were so ferocious. Then there are the islands of Mayotte, Reunion and Île-et-Parses, which are territories of France. The name Mayotte is believed to be derived from Arabic, meaning island of death, based on the dangerous reefs circulating the island. Mayotte was part of the Comorian archipelago. However, at the end of colonization, Mayotte decided to remain a part of France, and since then, Comoros and France have had disputes over who the island should be part of. 58% of the people in Mayotte were born in Mayotte, 5% were born in France, and about 30% of them were born in other countries. It is now an overseas department of France. Reunion is the furthest most region of the EU and has over 800,000 people living on the islands. It was discovered by the Portuguese, then inhabited by the French, then occupied by the British, before being handed over to France. Then you have the scattered islands in the Indian Ocean, islands that have been contested between France, Madagascar, Mauritius and Comoros. These islands are Europa Island, Basadi India, Juan de Nova Island, Trumlin Island, the Glorioso Islands and Bank du Gisa, a partly submerged island. Up between Tunisia and Malta lies the 3 islands of Lampedusa, Lampion and Linosa, and Pantelleria, which is southwest of Sicily but closer to Tunisia. Portuguese territory islands geographically closer to the African continent include the Madeira archipelago, consisting of Madeira, Porto Santo, the Santos Islands and Cal Islet. There are also the Savage Islands, which consist of 2 islands, surrounded by many inlets. The United Kingdom also is linked to Ascension Island, St. Helena, Tristan da Cunha and Go Island. For those who love facts, Algeria is the country with the most islands. The islands in Nigeria are the wealthiest islands. There is something called the Cameroon Line, which is a long chain of volcanoes that includes islands in the Gulf of Guinea, and in total, all islands have a population of over 30 million people. And if you guessed Madagascar had the bulk of the population, you were right. Did we miss anything? Thanks for watching. Will we see you in the next one?